Hi YouTube. You're very well aware of what's going on in Japan, and this is just 12 days of earthquakes since the tsunami and the nuclear disaster in Japan, and I have set it to sticky spots so you can see how plastered the shelf of Japan is being bombarded. And it's absolutely true what dutchsinse is talking about in his video, that there's a lot of tubes, volcanic tubes, in this vicinity here in Japan. Japan is a very seismic active area. We have the Pacific plate lying out here, and we also have volcanic activity in Japan, and a lot. And Japan, as we speak, is already doomed, and it's just a question of time. Japan is going to finally go down when Fukushima is going to go erupt. And if you pause it right there for a moment, and you can see this is HAARP active on March 11. There's a link for this picture underneath. But you see the frequency here, the resonance is around 2.5 Hertz. This is where it resonates, and I want to show you something else here while we are at resonance. So I was looking for it, see what I could find, and we know that the earthquake took place in a depth of 24 kilometers, so that is around here. So we take that line, you can see here, this is here, it resonates on 3 Hertz. And you see it becomes a flat line. So here we have resonance. So it is very likely that we could place HAARP as a suspect for this devastating earthquake in Japan. We know Japan is not very interested in New World Order. They're not interested in the Kyoto Treaty. And they also was planning to launch a vehicle, a car, which could drive on water alone. And you don't mess with the oil industry. And, well, they are all tied together, the oil industry and the military-industrial complex. So it's very likely to believe that when we see the resonance is fitting with the crust of Japan, and in exact depth and on the right amount of hertz, and it's I won't say beyond reasonable doubt, but I would say there's a high probability that HAARP was involved in this devastating earthquake in Japan. And as you see here, Japan is literally being bombarded with one earthquake after another. 731 over 12 days since the tsunami, since the big earthquake. And I made a little calculation. Today is my birthday, well, 44 years old, and I made a calculation that those numbers here, 731 is 11, and 12 days gives 3, and 3 times 11 is 33. But this is the marker, as you see here. That will signify when it is over for Japan. When this one erupts, this entire part of Japan, from here, this fold, and this fold down here, this is going to slide into the ocean as a giant landslide. And I have also accumulated some pictures from Japan, how it looks like. This is a seismic map of Japan, and all these dots here are actually underneath, in Japan, volcanic activity, and that is all the red dots. So basically Japan is one giant volcano, if you like, and that is a very unstable area to live in. I would not like it myself. And there's another example here where you also see it, and you can see the front of volcanoes is sitting actually on the east coast of Japan. That is that color, and the triangles you see here is all the volcanoes, and there's a lot of them, and they are on the east side of Japan. So here there is a pressure relief, and over here there is a pressure relief. And just to illustrate it, really simple, this is a piece of plastic, bubble plastic, and you can see in here there's a lot of holes in it, right? So what is going on here, kind of like figuratively speaking, is that this out here, that is the continental slope of Japan. We can go back and look at the original. As you see, let's just go a few seconds back, like there. There you can see what I'm illustrating. This is Japan on the black surface, and this is the continental slope. So what's going on right now is that this continental slope is being compressed because the tubes are collapsing, and in the end, as you hear here, that is all the earthquakes taking place, the 731 and more to come, and in the end there is nothing on the other side to hold Japan as an island back. So this one will simply just slide in like that. It will just fall over into the sea, and on that account it would not be advisable to be on any west coast on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, because that's going to be the world's largest tsunami in recorded history. I cannot say how big it is, but you can expect 1,000 feet tsunami on the west coast of North America and South America and Mexico. And the first one to get hit is Hawaii. And Hawaii don't have a continental slope. It is very steep, it's very short, so that will come with blunt force straight on. And funny enough, right after these earthquakes and a nuclear disaster, 2 reactors blowing up, I have a little sequence of that because I want to explain something to it. And then here in a few moments. Now we have the 731. And now weather modification. Here, this was the storm I was describing in my video, the day the storm stood still. This is over a 4-hour period. You can see this area here. When I press play, you can see it's very stationary. This area here is untouched. There's absolutely no rainfall here. You can see the storm is coming in and coming in, but this part here is not moving. And I was brought to my attention there's actually a dish sitting out at something called Bunker Hill. I'll show you that in a moment. But as you see here on repeated, that this storm simply just don't go anywhere. We know that the average rainfall in California is 14 inches a year, but this storm, in the wake of the nuclear disaster, apparently there was a storm building up, a very powerful one, right after the nuclear explosions. So I was saying that because of the plume's height, I'll show you that in a moment, there would be a very low probability that any of this nuclear fallout would reach the west coast of North America and Canada. Because of the height of the plume, it was simply not high enough. But when you're generating a storm, which HAARP is capable of, right after this disaster, and less than 42 hours, it's over here, and it's simply just dropping straight down on Los Angeles. And up from the bottom of this picture, here is the picture of that satellite array which is sitting out on Bunker Hill. And there's a link for that one too. You can go look at it yourself. And this is actually exactly there. This apparatus is standing right there. And if you look at this pattern here, when the picture here is gone, if you look at this line here, you can clearly see there is a barrier for the cloud formation and how the clouds are coming in. Something here is interfering with the incoming cloud here in this area. You also see here the thunderclouds, the heavy rain, is building up around this thing. It's not penetrating its barrier, it's going around it. And watch carefully. I'm positive this storm was generated and it dropped all this nuclear material in California.
Communications with Tokyo.
The stars go dim and the skies turn black.
The ripple rings, which are different than the massive rings. The massive rings are entirely different than the ripple rings. We'll look at the ripple rings again. Okay, you got Omaha, Des Moines, Peoria. Alright, those are the smaller radar rings. Now the giant radar ring is what we're concerned about.
But pay attention here to what is actually happening on the screen. You can clearly see, go away, you can clearly see here that the thunderclouds are not going in over, they are forming a circle around this area. That is very visible. And you see this line too. Something is interfering here, like a beam is going through and breaking up this incoming cloud. That is very visible to you. I would suspect you could calculate that. And then another thing. This one I made for fun. Indeed I did. This one looking like a V, and that's why I just thought it was fun to make that one. But that is from the same storm. And this one is stationary too. It doesn't move. It stays in the same vicinity, which is peculiar. And again, this thing on Bunker Hill seemed to be the one that is responsible for creating and stabilizing the storm to stay in the area so it doesn't go further inland. So we know here, we've seen this before, that the HAARP grid is very extensive. They have absolutely all control of weather. And many have said to me, yeah, but HAARP is only an atmospheric heater, an ionosphere heater. Yeah, it is. It is basically to build a plasma up in the ionosphere for incoming missiles as a defense system. And also cosmic event. It could probably serve as a protection shield. I don't know that, but that's a possibility. But it depends on how many megahertz HAARP is sending out. If we're going down in a 2 hertz scale, we're talking about a very low tone which is able to shake. It's like you have a bass guitar and you take the thickest one and you thump it, and you can feel these deep vibrations, and if you take a little thinner you can hear the pitch is a little higher. And HAARP is capable of working on all frequencies and move up to 1 billion watts, and that's a lot. So that is propelled up to the chemtrail clouds and bounced like a mirror down on the target. Or they could also use the electromagnetic field on planet Earth itself to propel and even enhance the firepower of HAARP. So HAARP is not just an ionosphere heater, it is also an earthquake machine. And actually HAARP, in full operational, the advanced model of it, the scalar, is actually able to cut the Earth in 2 pieces, just like an orange.